Hello and welcome to this edition of Temple Update. I'm Monica Trainer.
And I'm Suzanne McCool. Employers are looking for more than a diploma and a strong resume from job applicants. A spokesperson for the Office of Technological Assessment says a growing number of U.S. companies are requiring applicants to take an integrity exam. The test includes questions such as, do you think taking a pencil from work is stealing? Or, would you ever talk back to your boss or teacher? Some members of Congress are looking into complaints that people are being mislabeled dishonest and unproductive by the test. It is now estimated that the test is being used by over 6,000 U.S. corporations.
Some colleges are paying higher salaries to attract new professors, but a new survey finds that students are picking up the tab. Administrators say the shortage of teachers is forcing many institutions to pay new instructors more than the senior members of the same department. The higher salaries are pushing tuitions up about 6% a year. At Temple University Hospital, the unpaid staff is just as important as the doctors and nurses. Update's Lisa Conway reports on the vital roles volunteers play.
When people think of hospital volunteers, they often think of the typical candy striper. Temple University Hospital has volunteers of all ages, both men and women. Their duties range from clerical work to hands-on assistance. These people don't get paid. They do it because they want to give, not receive.
You don't have to get paid money-wise, to feel good about what you're doing. Okay, it benefits you a lot other ways.
Whether they work in the gift shop or the chemistry lab, volunteers offer a valuable service to the hospital and patients. Wards like maternity offer special challenges.
But if they don't want to eat, they give you that, and you ain't going to get nothing in their mouth. But all of them are beautiful. Every last one of them, I love them all. I really do.
Most of the volunteers love it. That's why they're here. Some work 2 hours a week and others work every day. Many of the volunteers don't have special training. What they do have is a desire to give time and love.
I'm here to help someone. If someone wants to take my hand, I'll be glad to take the hand. If someone wants to lean on me, lean on me. Because as I say, we're all brothers. Life is too short.
That's what volunteering is all about, giving of yourself to someone in need. Reporting for Temple Update, I'm Lisa Conway.
The United States Department of Education projects that $3.6 billion in student loans will go unpaid this year. Officials blame the recession's effect on the job market. They also report fundamental problems in the system for collecting loans. This year will mark a 50% increase overall of defaulted student loans from last year. Temple University is described as a melting pot of cultures and religions. For a small college on Broad Street, that's what brings them to Philadelphia. Update's Lisa Harper reports.
The next time you walk down Broad Street to the Owl's Nest, you may not know it, but you're walking right by a small Christian liberal arts college called Messiah. With its main campus outside of Harrisburg, the Messiah Philly campus has been located in the 7 townhouses on either side of the Sigma Pi fraternity house since 1978. The advantages of this campus, according to Director of Student Life Freeman Miller, is to expose students to an urban environment while furthering their education.
I think there are many advantages. Certainly one of the major ones is to have our students be able to have an urban experience while they're getting their education, and certainly another equally big one, or maybe even larger, is to be tied into a state university.
Messiah averages 83 students for this campus every semester. While there is an emphasis on biblical learning, the students are also studying majors in all areas, from art history to engineering.
Okay, majors where students are required to be at Philadelphia in order to complete their degree work at Messiah would include radio, television, and film, journalism, physics, social work, civil engineering, art education, and art history. All the others are what we call enrichment, which simply allow the students to come for a semester or two in order to just get a different experience than our main campus.
Now, while the students take classes at Temple, they're learning more than just how to make a living. They're being taught how to relate to one another.
It's more than just an academic education. Students are learning things socially and learning about different environments and cultures, and that's lifelong learning.
Everyone at Messiah Philly feels they have the best of 3 worlds: a private college, a state university, and the 5th largest metropolitan area in the country. For them, this is the best place and way to learn. For Temple Update, I'm Lisa Harper.
You think parking is tough on Temple's campus? Officials at Brigham Young University report that if a student parks illegally, they could be kicked out of school. Campus police say they are targeting students that owe hundreds of dollars in unpaid tickets. So far, no one has been expelled because of the new school policy. The growing population of disabled students, as well as a moral obligation, has prompted Temple University to surpass the legal standard of accessibility. Updates Lisa Conway reports.
Many disabled students choose Temple University because of the special services the university offers. Temple's Disabled Students Office makes sure all the university buildings are wheelchair accessible. Renovation of the campus began after Congress passed the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. The act prohibits discrimination of disabled students for any institution receiving federal aid. Mary Ryan, Director of Disabled Student Services, says Temple chose to go one step further.
We had a legal obligation, and that's, I guess, what started it. But then I think Temple sort of went beyond just the legal obligation and assumed it as a moral responsibility also to provide access for students with disabilities. And I think it was just part of Temple's mission, its overall mission.
Temple built ramps and elevators so students can get around inside and out. Most street corners have curb cuts so disabled students can cross the street without assistance. Some students say while they are generally happy with Temple's wheelchair accessibility, there is some room for improvement. Tom Swank says Temple is wheelchair accessible, but there are some problems they've overlooked. This restroom is supposed to be wheelchair accessible, but it might take a little maneuvering to get around this corner. Problems like this occurred when the university attempted to make already existing restrooms accessible. Graduate student Tom Shank says restrooms are not the only problem.
Disabled parking. There's no disabled parking. I mean, there's some in the lots, a few spots, but most of the extensive parking, there isn't a lot.
Swank suggests reserving a few spots for the disabled in front of university buildings. Mary Ryan says students can discuss oversights like these at the Disabled Students Office. She hopes to implement a Disabled Students Advisory Board to do just that. Reporting for Temple Update, I'm Lisa Conway.
Researchers say that drug abuse among high school and college students is in a decline. The University of Michigan study reports that 29% of young adults say they have experimented with illegal substances within the past year. That figure is down 4% from 1990.
According to the National Headache Foundation, certain personality traits seem to be linked with certain types of headaches. For example, people that tend to be neat, orderly, and creative may be prone to migraines. Those who don't deal well with stress may experience tension headaches. Finally, those who experience cluster headaches are often smokers or former smokers with restless and aggressive personality traits. One of the many woes of college freshmen is how much weight they will gain. Updates Jacqueline Dior reports.
You're nuts.
It's the beginning of the school year, and it can become very easy for freshmen to get caught up in the crowd. Teresa Houston is a freshman biology major at Temple University and spends most of her time studying. Teresa says she enjoys her classes, dorm life, and her friends. But ordering cheeseburger pitas and cheese fries at 2 a.m. has led Teresa to gain the dreaded 10 to 15 pounds most college freshmen gain in the first few months of school.
I think I've gained at least 10 pounds since I've been here because it's so easy. There are vendors everywhere. I mean, in between any class, you can stop and get anything you want to eat. It's always there, and you're smelling it constantly, and you're constantly hungry.
The solution in combating the freshman 15, according to director of the Counseling Center at Temple University, Herbert Horikawa, is that freshmen need to stop eating junk food and start eating properly.
They could do it all on their own because we have a tape program here on managing your diet. What this program attempts to do is to fool the body, so to speak, by keep eating, but then eating different things which are low in calories, such things as celery and carrots, so the body will not think that we're going into a famine.
Horikawa says over half of the students the Counseling Center serves are freshmen. The reason for this is simple.
What they often find themselves doing will be finding themselves very tense, very unsure of themselves, very insecure, and as a consequence of that, they start feeding their anxieties, and they will eat, and the sad part is that they find themselves with a few extra pounds.
Adjusting to college life may not be easy for freshmen at first, but within the next few months, they will have learned the tricks of the trade. Reporting for Temple Update, I'm Jacqueline Dior.
One of the major controversies on many college campuses this year is the school's ROTC program. Here with the report is Michelle Baum.
The faculty at Alfred University is formulating a battle plan to fight the school's ROTC program. The faculty has voted to strip ROTC classes of academic credit unless the Defense Department drops its ban against gays. The ROTC would lose all curricular status, including fulfilling the program's physical education requirements. If the motion carries, the ROTC program at Alfred University would be dissolved. One of the more prominent organizations on Temple's campus is the school's ROTC program. Update's Dennis Haley reports on this controversial group.
You may not be aware of its presence, but the Army Reserve Officer Training Corps, better known as the ROTC, is in full operation across hundreds of university and college campuses. In existence since 1916, the ROTC supplies more officers to the United States Army than West Point. Just this year alone, of the 8,000 new lieutenants, 6,500 are from ROTC programs. Whether the officers register for the 2-year or 4-year basic program, the challenges facing them are deemed to be more difficult than those of West Point cadets and other fellow students.
When they operate as ROTC cadets, they exist in the military world. They function as a military person. But when they go back to being a Temple student, for the vast majority of their time in the week, they have to change their frame of reference. They have to think and act as students and so on. And it's often difficult, not sometimes, often it's difficult, for an individual to make that shift from civilian to military and back and forth.
In the past, ROTC cadets have taken flack for wearing their uniforms to class and for their association with the Army program. Now, ROTC programs are receiving criticism for adhering to the U.S. Department of Defense's anti-gay and lesbian policy. It states homosexuality is incompatible with military service.
We, as a part of the Army, are duty-bound to comply with that policy, and I have to, as long as I wear this uniform, adhere to the policy. It would be pointless to try to debate its wisdom or justice and so on, and my own private opinions on the matter are essentially irrelevant.
This latest conflict between the ROTC and universities is just another obstacle that the program will more than likely survive. Reporting for Temple Update, I'm Denise Haley.
The ROTC program may survive here at Temple, but it's under attack on Penn's campus. Citing the school's anti-discrimination policy, the university has demanded that all students be permitted to enroll in ROTC classes unless homosexuals are anticipated. Penn has threatened to oust the program from the campus. We'll be keeping a close watch on the situation.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle. There's much more ahead on Temple Update.
In sports, Brian Kniff reports on a big year for lacrosse in the Delaware Valley. And it's more fun and games with the E-Team when Temple Update continues.
Where do you turn to find help for an elderly person you love? Call the Elder Care Locator at 1-800-677-1116.
And here's Brian Kniff with sports. Brian, it seems John Chaney was much more than a coach a couple years back.
Yeah, he was actually a pretty good player in college. Most of us know about the coaching career of Temple's John Chaney, but few know about his playing days. Way back in 1953, Chaney was an NAIA All-American and most valuable player of the NAIA National Championships that same year. After college, Chaney turned down an offer to play for the Harlem Globetrotters. One former teammate says Chaney could have played any place for anybody. Philadelphia has always been a big sports town. One sport that has captured the imagination of local fans is lacrosse. This is to be a big year for lacrosse in the Delaware Valley. The season began in October when the University of Pennsylvania played host to the first annual Fall Lacrosse Classic. Some of the best teams in the country, including Johns Hopkins, participated in the event. In January, the Philadelphia Wings of the Major Indoor Lacrosse League he turned to the Spectrum. The hard-hitting, fast-paced sport has been a big hit. The Wings continue to draw over 12,000 fans a game. Wings head coach Dave Evans says he has seen the steady growth of lacrosse in the Delaware Valley.
If you want to look at some kind of a measure of the growth of lacrosse in this area, is look at our roster. In the past, this is the first year that we've had over half of our roster from the Philadelphia area. We've got, I believe, 17 out of 25 players from the Philadelphia area. The most we've ever had before has been 12.
In the spring, the Temple's women's squad will field another strong team, as will the men's team from Penn. The year concludes with the city playing host to the NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships at Franklin Field.
Once people see the game, and once they see, for instance, we get some good crowds out to the NCAAs at Penn in a couple of months, it's just going to help it grow that much more.
The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships will be held at Franklin Field Saturday, May 23rd through Monday, May 25th. A successful college basketball program could generate millions of dollars for its school, so it's no wonder that college athletes, coaches, and administrators cringe when they hear the word probation. Probation many times results in the loss of scholarships, television coverage, and the right to play in postseason tournaments. This season, there are 17 schools on probation. A school can be placed on probation for various infractions, such as recruitment violations or illegal cash payments to players. For student athletes, making the grade just got harder. The NCAA has adopted a measure that will soon require incoming athletes to have a 2.5 grade point average and SAT scores of 700. This new measure, called Proposition 16, is a change from the current Proposition 48, which requires athletes to have a 2.0 grade point average. Proposition 16 takes effect in 1995. Imagine UNLV without basketball. Well, that's what will happen if one of the school's professors gets his way. Biology professor Jim Deacon says UNLV has adopted a win-at-all-costs attitude that has led to a, quote, destructive situation. UNLV has been scrutinized by the NCAA in recent years for alleged rules violations. But UNLV President Robert Maxson says he will not consider shutting down the basketball program. Recruiting is often the most important part of building a successful college football program. Temple coach Jerry Burnt believes he has his team moving in the right direction. Burnt says that this season's crop of recruits is the most talented group he has landed as Temple coach. Some of the players who will enroll at Temple next year were heavily recruited by some of the most successful college football teams in the country. Burnt says he thinks many of these players will help the team next season and for years to come. And hopefully, Monica, the team can improve from its 1-10 record of last season.
Maybe the new players will help the program along. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. If you have the clean-cut look, you are in for the spring, according to Levi's 501 report. The national survey of college students also found 4 looks that are definitely out. The punk look topped the list is out for the season. The biker, the 60s, and the surfer looks followed right behind.
A fashion consultant based in California has found that women who wear certain colors can influence what others think of them. Colors such as black, white, cream, or red show authority, while warm colors like yellow, orange, and beige convey friendliness and warmth. Colors that portray trust are navy and teal blue. The 90s has seen a resurgence in animation, and as Erica Hedden reports, the medium shows no signs of slowing down.
Disney feature-length film is probably the first thing you think of when you hear the word animation, or maybe Saturday morning cartoons for children like Bugs Bunny. The popular primetime Simpsons may even cross your mind, but animation can include a lot more. Dave Culver, the general manager of Center City Video, explains.
Animation to me makes something wiggle. Animation started out as drawn cells, which is to say a clear piece of acetate that someone actually inked in. A little bit later on, somebody got the wise idea, if we take little clay figures, we can move them around and, shooting them a frame at a time, actually animate them. As we've seen an explosion in computers themselves, we've seen an explosion in computer graphics.
Mr. Culver says one of the most successful animation techniques combines live action and animation. This is called rotoscoping. Students interested in getting into the animation business should have a creative background.
We need artists, we need designers, we need people who can bring a vision to a project.
Here at Temple School of Communications and Theater, they have an animation workshop for students. It's usually offered during the summer. So, if you're creatively inclined, get your markers ready or your floppy disks. That's all, folks. For Temple Update, I'm Erica Hedden.
14 million Americans now own camcorders, and they're shooting more than just family picnics. Crimes, accidents, and neighbors' activities are all being recorded with controversial results. Some Americans feel that this could be the return of Big Brother. The big difference is that he could be anyone. And now, a good example of total misuse of a camcorder. Here's the E-Team.
The E-Team is a cool summer breeze, a field of daisies.
It's like that special girl on your block. You know the one. The one who leaves her shades open when she's changing.
It's like a veritable cornucopia of laughter. How's that?
The E-Team. It's the end of the show. You know, the good part? I'm kidding.
You know, I've really grown to love the other guys in the E-Team. From a distance, of course.
The E-Team is really, really big. Like pumpkins in a pumpkin patch on a cool autumn evening.
Well, it's certainly better than getting that thing lanced.
When you watch the E-Team, it'll improve your vocabulary and increase your SAT scores.
You know when you watch the news and you wait to the end because you only really want to see the sports and the weather? Well, that's what we are.
Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. Actually, I don't care if you hate me or not.
We're just like Saturday Night Live, except we start with a vowel. The E-Team.
Oh, God, bit my tongue. What? What's his name?
Okay.
Oh, you guys, this is making me look really bad.
Yeah, well, now let's do some, Coming this fall on Temple Update.
Hi, I'm Juliet Edmana, and he's Adam L. Adam, I hear you have some interesting new facts about women to share with us today.
That's right, Juliet. For all you women out there, don't be ashamed of your sexual fantasies. A study in Self magazine says that women fantasize as much as men, 2 or 3 times a day. I know you're sitting next to me, Juliet, but please, try to keep your mind on your work.
Well, listen to this, Adam. Esquire magazine conducted a survey on 1,001 men on a number of topics, and one of the questions was, if you received $1 for every sexist thought in the past year, how much richer would you be today? The average answer was close to $140. Adam, how much richer would you be?
Did you say something, Juliet? I'm sorry, I was just thinking about you and me. Well, forget it. The television advertisers in Czechoslovakia had the right idea. According to a Financial Times report, Czech television ads of late have featured naked women, followed by office furniture the viewer is meant to buy. We sure can learn a lot from those wacky Czech advertisers, Juliet.
The question remains, will they or won't they? According to Advertising Age magazine, the outcome of the Taster's Choice commercials featuring the flirting neighbors who just love their coffee will not be aired until January. Stay tuned for the conclusion of this simmering saga.
You know, Juliet, some of these wacky, nutty stories, they just make me go, Our E-Team reporter, Brad Miner's out there, and he wants to find out what makes you go, We just thought we'd ask.
Women with blonde hair, blue eyes, world class. When astronauts come back, they don't have any jobs. Why don't they have any jobs? That's because they're drug addicts. They have to be drug addicts.
The female species.
How people on this campus can be so ignorant.
It doesn't make sense for them to go to the moon and drive a buggy on the moon. If the moon has no gravitation, a buggy can't ride on the moon.
Stock market. M&M's.
They can't even walk on the moon. So I knew they didn't go to the moon.
Yeah.
Because how would they test the rocket fuel and the rocket materials to going out in space? I knew they never went to the moon.
My roommate getting up in the morning makes me go,
Not on TV. This little update thing.
I can't really. I see my girlfriend naked.
Wow.
My girlfriend.
They're weightless inside the ship. That never made sense to me. Why do you have to be weightless inside the ship? You know? So I knew they had to at least drug them, or they had to be people who aren't, didn't have too much education.
That question you just gave me.
Well, that's it for the E-Team. I'm Julia Edmana, and I'm off to see my analyst.
And I'm Adam L, and I'm off to see my bookie. Bye.
Absolute misuse of a camcorder. Thanks, guys. A researcher at the Washington University Medical Center has issued a warning concerning the use of personal stereos. Dr. William Clark says that extended use of a Walkman-like device at a high volume will in time cause irreversible hearing loss. The study contends that school-age children are the most at risk. A recent survey found that 4 out of every 5 kids owned a personal stereo. One of the more bizarre museums in the Delaware Valley specializes in burial and death rituals around the world. Updates Chris Avery reports.
The Philadelphia area abounds in its selection of museums. There is the famous Art Museum, the Civil War Museum, and now the Museum of Mourning Art, a museum dedicated entirely to death and the customary burial activities which accompany it. Located in Arlington Cemetery in Drexel Hill, this unique museum shows how religious death practices and people's attitudes towards death have changed since the 16th century. In the earlier centuries, death was a common topic of daily discussion. From the time they were born, people were taught how to die.
The message was to prepare to die well so that you could live well, in that order. The books that are exhibited in the museum reflect the need for learning how to die well. It helped you to understand your physical concerns about death and problems, as well as your spiritual ones.
The museum has many different types of art: clothing, jewelry, paintings, and even a hearse, all of which help to portray the death attitudes of their time. The museum has a special connection with one popular United States president. Mourning art flourished in America only after the death of George Washington. For that reason, not only is a large part of the museum dedicated to Washington, but the building which houses the museum is an exact replica of Mount Vernon, Washington's home. Also located in this building are offices, a genealogical library, and a chapel, fashioned after the Bruton Parish Church in colonial Williamsburg, Virginia.
The museum opened last April, so if you're interested in taking a fascinating look at a topic we know so little about, pay a visit to this museum. Reporting for Temple Update, I'm Christopher Avery.
Horror novelist Stephen King has asked the University of Maine not to republish columns he wrote 20 years ago for the student newspaper. The author says he finds the columns juvenile and embarrassing. He will, however, write a new essay for the paper.
If you chew gum, you may be chewing on danger. A consumer advocate group in London says that chewing gum could be hazardous to your health. Chewing gum contains harmful mineral hydrocarbons, better known as paraffin wax. The substance has been banned from all foods except gum and cheese rind. Philip Hamilton, managing editor of Wrigley, dismisses the claim, saying everything in his company's gum is entirely safe.
If you had to hear good and bad news, which would you choose to hear first? According to Philip Morris magazine, 63% of Americans would prefer to hear the bad news first. The reason? The people believe that hearing a positive information last would leave them in a more favorable state of mind. That's it for this edition of Temple Update. I'm Suzanne McCool.
And I'm Monica Trainer. Thanks for watching. Thank God that's over.